Hey guys, Brian here from LCS. Thanks for stopping by the channel and this video, wants versus needs, finding balance when collecting. So this is going to be a little bit of a different video than I normally do, but I'm going to talk a little bit about financial literacy, financial education, and how that kind of ties into building a collection of anything. Could be comic books, pop figures, sneakers, video games, whatever, cars, homes, whatever you like to collect, right? So I really think it starts with financial literacy or financial education. And you're probably wondering, Brian, who are you to tell us about financial education or literacy or money in general, right? So just a little background, a little personal story. I started a personal finance blog in about 2013 and ran it for the last 7 or so years. So very in deep in the personal finance community. My family and I were featured on Good Morning America talking about how to get out of debt. And so I do have a little bit of background. And from a personal experience, we mismanaged our money for years. My wife and I got married in 1999, and in 2010, we had a financial wake up. We finally decided to take control of our money. And as a dad of 3 children, really young adults, I have a son and daughter who are twins, they're 22, and a younger son who is 18. And I want them to have the best future possible. And it really starts with money, right? It starts, and I know, everybody's personal situation with money is different. We make more money than, some people make more money than others, and we have different obligations and responsibilities. But there are some general things that you can learn about money that can help you throughout the rest of your life, no matter what age you are. I was 40 years old when I started to learn and increase my knowledge on the subject of money. And I had opportunities well before that to increase the knowledge, but I just decided not to. When my wife and I got married, my in-laws gave us both a book. It was a Susie Orman book, right? And she's kind of like a personal finance, personality if you don't know who she is. And they gave us a book, so this is when I was 29 years old. And I just basically said, nobody's going to tell me how to manage my money, certainly not my new, in-laws, and I'm not going to read this book. I still have the book today, but it sat on the shelf for years and collecting dust. And really, they were just learning, trying to help me learn from their own experience, right? They, and I think I think about my 3 children, and I try to teach them as much as I can, but sometimes they roll their eyes, and they know everything, and and they're a lot younger than I was when I received this book. So what I want you to take away from that is be open to advice. Listen to people with experience, life experience, people that are older than you, right? Think of your parents or even your grandparents. No matter what age you are, you can learn something from them. So, and how I want to kind of tie this into comic book collecting is really about wants versus needs, right? So it's a very basic concept that probably gets taught in, and hopefully taught in most elementary schools. But it's basically just think of things in your life. You need food, you need shelter, you need water, you need electricity, things like that. Those are, needs. You need those to survive. And then there's a whole list of wants. Hulk, 181, that new pair of sneakers, the latest gaming console, the best, the latest and greatest smartphone out there. Those are all, wants. You want those things, right? So it really, it's a easy concept. You can just look at anything. If you were to, walk into a store today and say, I want to purchase something, you can categorize that thing either into a want or a need. It's really that simple. And if it's a need, then it should have priority in your, how you're spending your money, in your budget, however you manage your money. If it's a want, then it should have lower priority than those other things, right? You need to make sure your rent is paid, your mortgage is paid, your electric bill, your water bill, your heating bill, whatever it is first. And then whatever money's left over, you have the decision to then make, how you want to spend it. Maybe you value, traveling. So maybe you want to travel a lot. So that's where you save money towards. I think the biggest misconception that people have with, managing money is credit cards, right? Credit cards are like, oh, it's free money. I can manage this minimum payment. But it can be a trap because if you're charging and overspending money that you don't have and use credit cards to rack up purchases, and that could be on anything. Comic books as an example. You really shouldn't be buying those things if you don't have the cash for. And that's just a general rule that I try to live by. I try not to put anything on a credit card that I don't have the ability to pay off by the end of the month, because unless it's an emergency, a necessity, something that I need. But what I also do is I have an emergency fund, so I have a cash savings so that when those unexpected things come up, I'm able to cover it. So I'm kind of giving you a lot of general financial education type stuff, some basic principles on how you can really manage your money well. But I want to bring it back and talk a little bit about collecting, right? So anything that you collect is really a want. It's things that you want. You don't need them to survive. You don't need comic books to survive. But you need to strike the balance. So if all of your needs are met and you have a surplus of money every month, well, then you can decide what you want to do with that money. And one of the things that I would recommend, I'm a married guy. My wife and I communicate about our money all of the time. We want to be on the same page, right? You see all the jokes and the memes and the post about, don't tell my wife how much money I spent on these comic books, those type of things. But that's not really a good way to approach it. You need to work together, as a team and communicate. I know for me, my wife, there are certain things that she values, right? She knows I love comic books and like to collect them and spend money on them, but that's not her thing. There's other things that, she has a priority in, her life where she'd like to spend her money. So we try to strike a balance, right? And we communicate about it, and we build a plan. We say, all right, we're going to spend, X amount of money on, I'll have X amount of money that I can spend on comic books, and she has X amount of money that she can spend on her interest. And then that way there's no argument, there's no, miscommunication about it. If I come home with a big stack of comic books, she's not giving me, side eye over it. So just a couple things that I have learned over the years. And, like I said, I have 3 children, 3 young adults, and I'm trying to teach them, as much as I can about money and, financial education, and give them, things that I didn't know at their age. Because think about it, the biggest advantage that a young person has is their age, right? If you start to save money, or if you handle your money, manage your money better at a younger age, you can build incredible wealth as you get older, right? If you start when you're older, you can still build wealth, but you just won't have the same amount of years that somebody in their early 20s has. If you're in your mid 30s or late 40s, you're going to have to save a lot more money to be able to build wealth. If you start young and manage your money well from the beginning, you can be a millionaire by the time you're in your 30s, by smartly, saving money, investing, and avoiding debt. So, like I said, I think it really ties in to collecting, any type of collecting, because those things are, wants. They're not needs, they're not necessities in your life. But if you want to spend your money on those things, you have to have the money to do that. So free up money, get rid of debt, increase your knowledge on the subject, right? So there are a couple great books that you can pick up at your local library. You don't even need to spend any money. You can rent them. You can get them on audio. You can get an audio version. You can listen to it in your car, on your phone, when you're out, jogging or exercising, whatever it is. There are lots of ways that you can increase your knowledge on, money, financial education. A couple books I can recommend. The Millionaire Next Door. Author is Thomas Stanley. It's just a great book. It's about stealth wealth and how you could be living next door to a millionaire and you may never know it, but because of some of the habits of millionaires. So that's a great book to read. I'm drawing a blank on the author, but I Will Teach You to Be Rich is another great book. Kind of gives you a blueprint on how to handle money. If you're in debt and need help getting out of debt or motivation on how to get out of debt, I would recommend the Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey. And Dave Ramsey is one of those, personal finance personalities. He has a podcast. He's on YouTube. But I would recommend his book. It gives you some, 7, baby steps on how to get out of debt. So if you're in debt and want to dump it, that is a great blueprint on how to do that. I Will Teach You to Be Rich, Million Next Door. There are a number of other great books out there. I mean, if you go to your local library and search personal finance, you will see plenty of books on the topic. And I at 40 years old started to increase my knowledge on the subject. And then I got so excited about it, I started a blog about personal finance. I was writing, 3 or 4 times a week, publishing, articles. And I wanted, once I found the information, increased my knowledge and saw kind of how easy it was if you just followed, some basic steps, that I wanted everybody to know. So I started sharing it with family and friends. Because I was so excited, and it was such a big change in my life. We went from being stressed about money and an emergency, if a flat tire happened or an appliance blew up in the house, or if there was an emergency for if we had to travel somewhere because of a family issue. We were stressed over, well, where was that money going to come from when those things happened? But as soon as we increased our knowledge and started working together as a team, as an entire family, my wife and I first, and then we involved our 3 kids, talking about money around the dinner table, we really reduced stress in our lives about money. And it's an amazing feeling. And I would want everybody to have that in their lives, because if you don't have to worry about money, you can focus on other things. You can, like I said, reduce stress, build better relationships, with family members, with friends. So there's a lot of benefits. And think of it. We use money our entire lives, right? From, probably, we get birthday money as a kid, or, holiday money. And so we begin to manage and use money very early on in our lives, and then we continue to use it our entire lives. And there's not a lot of schools that teach financial education. And if, I think of myself, we were naive about how to handle money for years. And so we weren't teaching our kids anything. And so luckily we had this aha moment and woke up and started to increase our knowledge, and then we were able to pass that along to our 3 kids. And so my 3 kids right now all work, have jobs, have savings accounts, have no credit cards, no credit card debt. They basically buy everything with cash or debit card. They have a debit card. They manage their bank on banking online. But they are basically in such great shape. Both my older son and daughter are investing money. They already have retirement savings at age 22, and that is going to build them incredible wealth over the years. So when I think of collecting, anything, like I said, comic books, sneakers, pop figures, whatever it is, all of those things cost money. and some of those, items cost a lot of money, right? And so if you want to go and get those, that's great, but you should have a plan and be in agreement with your spouse on how you're going to spend that money, because it's going to just help you live a much better, stress-free life if you have a plan. So I think that's really it. I just really want you guys to start thinking about it, because I see, I'm watching content, seeing stuff on Instagram, and the amount of money that people are spending, and I have no knowledge of their personal situation. I'm hopeful that they're spending, the money on these things that they have, that they're not borrowing money or putting it on credit cards to pay for things that they don't necessarily need in their lives. It's not it's not a need, right? A comic book is not a need. It's really a want. So, and having that balance is so important, right? Because, if you were to lose a job or to lose some of your income for whatever reason, now, the stress is ramped up and the pressure's put on if you have overextended yourself by, using credit cards or having loans. So, there is, a big difference in your life when you're not worried about money. So, and I see it. I see it in like I said, in the collecting kind of community. A lot of money is being spent. So I'm just hopeful that people are managing their money well, so that a happy purchase of a comic book is not causing them stress and worry 2 weeks down the line when the transmission in the car blows up. So that's my wish for everybody. So. And I'm certainly, if anybody wants me to drop me a message or a comment, if you need, any tips on just how to basically, how to do some basic, money management with your personal finances, please. Always happy to help any way that I can. We were in well over $100,000 worth of consumer debt, and we paid that off in 5 years. So it can be done, right? And so, when you hear other stories of people getting rid of their debt and how it's changed their lives, it's an amazing story. So I hope I've piqued some interest for you, and I hope there's enough thought in the collecting side that the tie-in with money, and that if you get both in balance, it could be an incredible situation for yourself. And, if you have spare money, free money, that you don't need to spend on needs, then you can increase, how you're spending your money on wants. So, and I would want that, for everybody. So thanks for watching. I know this is a little bit of a different type of video, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't, and we'll talk soon. Thanks.